has some incredible information on it. It's an official fax, not from an individual, but rather from an organization. I'm attempting to verify just who the organization is before I tell you what's on this fax. So as soon as I do, then I'll let you know what it is. Hey, our Chicago affiliate, WLS Talk Radio AM and FM, has a great morning team down in Roma, and Don Wade has decided to form the Whitewater Celebration Committee, the Whitewatergate Celebration Committee, and as such, they have a candidate. They are ready to move forward on the next presidential election, and I've got one of their campaign buttons right here. And I showed you this button on our television show yesterday. It says Gore in 94. Now, you probably say, well, Rush, there's not a presidential election in 94. How can that? That's the point. Somebody asked me that yesterday on TV audience. But Rush, there's not a presidential election. That's the point. Cellular call, Mary out of Georgia. Peter, hello. Welcome to the EIB Network.
Well, hi, Rush. Pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, sir, for calling.
Well, thank you. I was curious whether you thought that the Clintons might end up going on something like 60 Minutes or so, some such program, and take the same kind of risk they did last time they were on 60 Minutes, having the situation now be that facts can be verified.
I have it on authority that one of the major interview shows has a request in that they're considering. And I would assume that is 60 Minutes. In fact, I would assume that all these similar type shows have requests in. And the news is that I've heard they are considering it. They haven't said no yet. They're weighing the options. I think it's a pretty good deduction on your part that they might try it. But this, this is if they're going to do that and open themselves up to questioning on this, in the midst of subpoenas and grand jury testimony and so forth, if they've got a good lawyer, the lawyer's going to say, don't say anything about this yet. This is still under investigation and so forth, unless they've got facts that can disprove all of these allegations and assumptions. Of course, they're like to say that nobody's accused us of doing anything, yet that's what all this investigatory process is all about. But yours is a pretty good thought that they might be thinking about doing this.
Well, that was what I was wondering. With all the facts that now are coming out, would there be more come out in 60 Minutes interview than they really want to allow into the public domain?
Well, here's the thing. This is bottling them up. This is keeping them from getting a lot done. Even though Mrs. Clinton went up and had her regularly scheduled Wednesday luncheon with members of the Senate and the House concerning health care, the fact remains that no matter what else they're trying to do legislatively, they're kind of hamstrung by all this because the press now has decided that this is a story, and this is the first question, the second question, the third question that generally are going to be asked. Like yesterday, Mrs. Clinton is exiting the Capitol building, and somebody asked her a question about Whitewatergate, and her answer was, "I never knew there was so much interest in health care. It's just we're growing every day." She's very chipper and got in the car and drove off. Now, that's another thing. Thanks, by the way, Peter, for the call. While all this is going on, while the Clintons may be hamstrung, let me tell you something. In Congress, they are not. And there is a process underway now to get the Clintons' health care bill or major provisions of it signed into law in secret. Now, you may be saying, how can that be? Well, it's the way the House works. Will you agree with me, ladies and gentlemen, that the public Clinton plan is in trouble? That the public Clinton plan is dead? That meaning that the plan they've published, those 1,342 pages, that plan is in effect come under such criticism now, and there's so much opposition to it in this quarter and in that quarter that it's now going to have to be restructured. Well, that does not mean that basic ingredients of the public plan can be rammed through in secret. In fact, that process is underway now using 3 Senate or 3 House committees. One of them is the Energy Committee. The next one is the Ways and Means Committee. And the other is the Labor Committee that John Dingell heads up. In those 3 committees, or of those 3 committees, there are 3 different bills, health care bills, that have been written and are being passed through and out of each committee on to the next stage. Now, the final stage for all 3 of these bills is the House Rules Committee. The House Rules Committee is basically Tom Foley and Dick Gephardt and the rest of the House leadership getting together and deciding which elements of these three health care bills they like, and then they'll put them all together into their bill. And they can also write in their own provisions in this bill, and then that will be the bill that makes it to the floor of the House. And these three committees, the Energy Committee is where there is a bipartisan bill, where there are real opportunities for the Clinton health care bill to be defeated. And I had a talk today with a couple of members of Congress who wanted to alert me to all this to hopefully enable me to learn enough about it to be able to pass on to you exactly what's going on. And I have had those conversations, I think, sufficiently now that I could give you a basic understanding of how the political process on this health care bill is going to work, so that in private, in secret, they can get the bill they want that's pretty close to the Clinton bill. And it's a maze. It's almost impossible to follow. It's something that there's very seldom any press attention to. And so I'm going to, during the course of this program, maybe tomorrow's, get into the detail of this process. What basically you have to know is that if you have a member of Congress who's in the House Energy Committee, that's where pressure needs to be applied to make sure that the bipartisan health bill that has most of the opposition to the overall socialistic tendencies of the Clinton bill exists, and that bill has got to win. That bill has got to come out of the Energy Committee intact, so that the Democrats do not have a monopoly on votes as this bill goes from the Energy Committee bill comes out, then the Ways and Means bill will come out, and then the Labor Committee bill will come out and it goes to the Rules Committee, which is Tom Foley. So it's a point. When you hear about this, it rages you to find out that this is how the people's work gets done. I got a quick break. We'll take it and be back with more right after this.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Hi, Rush Limbaugh here. You know, a major university recently surveyed over 600 employers as to why job applicants do not get hired. Number one reason, poor communication skills. People do judge us by the words we use, and Verbal Advantage, a complete audio cassette vocabulary program, will give you the word power you need to communicate with authority and flair. To learn more, call now, 1-800-28-TAPES. That's 800-28-TAPES.
You get a lot of hotel for your money at Hampton Inn.
The rooms always feel fresh and look new, and that's important to me.
Hey, I wake up to a free continental breakfast, make as many local calls as I want, all on the house. It's great.
And on vacations, there's more money for fun, because the kids stay free.
For a comfortable stay at a competitive price, experienced travelers trust Hampton Inn. You'll be satisfied or your night stay is free. Call 1-800-HAMPTON now for reservations.
There are bigger things in life than bugs. Oh, yes. This is true. So when I found myself out in my tobacco field and discovered I had nematodes and soil insects, I was not alarmed. No, I was not. I simply said, these are but small things in a field of much bigger things. And I am in no mood for these small nematodes and soil insects. They will not spoil my day. Come transplanting, I will simply apply MoCap. MoCap brand nematicide insecticide, because I'm in no mood for nematodes and soil insects.
MoCap, MoCap, when tobacco bugs are bugging you.
This is Billy Patterson, Veterans Employment Representative in the Go for a Job Service Office with jobs for a human resource developer. We'll teach motivational and world of work classes for unemployed, underemployed, and disadvantaged adults. An occupational therapist assistant will assist occupational therapists in administering occupational therapy program. Must be licensed as the occupational therapy assistant in North Carolina. An assistant human resource manager, need a BA in human resource administration or related field, speak and write Spanish, and 2 years of experience in employment relation, safety, and counseling. For more information, contact Go for a Job Service, 309 North Williams Street, from 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday.
1150 WGBR.
Okay, folks, I think I got enough information here to tell you the contents of this fax that I got. Brace yourselves. This fax contains information that I have just been told will appear in a newsletter to Morgan Stanley sales personnel this afternoon. This information is to be published this afternoon in a newsletter from Morgan Stanley sales folks. And what it is a bit of news which says that a Washington consulting firm, I'm not going to mention their names at this time because I've got to call in to confirm that they're actually doing this. But there's a Washington consulting firm that is scheduled to release a report this afternoon that will be published, that claims that Vince Foster was murdered in an apartment owned by Hillary Clinton, and the body was then taken to Fort Marcy Park.
Hi, I'm Gil Whitten, horticultural expert, inviting you to listen weekend mornings here on WGBR for the National Lawn and Garden Report. Green thumb or not, you'll discover many useful and fascinating facts about your lawn and garden. We'll be here to answer your questions every weekend morning on 1150 WGBR.
Did you ever feel like you were talking to a brick wall? That's what it's like with my dad. He doesn't listen to me. He says that's my job, listening. It doesn't work like that, but you can't tell him. He's like a brick wall, a picket fence, a croquet mound, a ratchet set, a wingding.
Dad, you could be like headphones, an answering machine, a big pair of elephant ears, a satellite dish, a receptive...
It's never too late to learn to listen. The Mennonite Churches.
WGBR, Goldsboro's very own.
From ABC News, I'm Gary Nahn. More jobs are going poof, dissolved and done away with by downsizing. Fleet, the 15th biggest bank in the country, is doing away with 5,500 jobs over the next year. IBM lopping 1,200 people from its large-scale computer division payrolls. During the first 2 months of the year, 143,000 layoffs were announced by major companies, more than during the same period last year, according to James Challenger of the outplacement consultants Challenger, Gray & Christmas. Challenger says when it comes to looking for new jobs, security is no longer at the top of the list of concerns.
Most people in today's market are placing money at the top of their list. It used to be much more how much time they might expect to stay in the job. Most people now realize that long tenure with a company is a thing of the past.
Challenger says in today's environment, job security is not possible, that companies are open to finding ways to cut their workforces, much less likely to promise any kind of longevity. Raw facts about life in Sarajevo detailed today by a 13-year-old girl from Sarajevo who appeared before the Helsinki Commission on Capitol Hill. For 2 years, Zlata Fipulovic kept a diary about her life during the siege of the city, bombings, shellings, shootings that killed more than 1,500 kids, wounded many, many more. Zlata says there were two kinds of days, those with shooting and those without.
When it's shooting, I sometimes must get up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and from warm bed, from a dreamland. And usually I dream about peace, about my friends, about beach. I have to wake up and go to reality, go to the cellar, to gold cellar, wet cellar.
Zlata's diary, already a bestseller in France now, is being published in the United States next week. Nissan agrees to stop running commercials in which the company offers $100 to prospective customers to drive a Nissan but end up buying a Honda or a Toyota. Commercials insisted there was no catch. The government disagreed. You're listening to ABC News.
Diane was alarmed that rising medical costs were driving up her workers' compensation premiums.
My workers' compensation premium has almost doubled over the last 5 years. My company can't keep up with these costs.
Diane didn't know then that the CNA insurance companies have effective cost management programs for workers' compensation. In fact, last year, CNA saved its policyholders more than $154 million through cost management.
I was relieved when my independent agent told me how CNA integrates a variety of programs to manage medical costs. They have PPOs for occupational injuries, bill reviews, and audits. They also manage costs through case management, rehabilitation services, and fraud control. CNA really works hard to help keep insurance affordable.
Ask your independent agent about the CNA insurance companies and how insurance can work harder for you. CNA, for all the commitments you make.
More and more kids say they are physically abused by adults. One finding of a Gallup poll conducted a few months ago.
Over 1 teen in 5 reports having been hit by an adult. Young men are far more likely than young women to report this by a margin of 27% to 16%.
George Gallup's organization did a survey of more than 500 teens. The level of confidence is plus or minus 4 percentage points. A federal judge refuses a request by accused spy Aldrich Ames that he order the government to unfreeze more than $2 million worth of assets. A victory for the government, explains ABC's Tony Sargent.
The government won its case by arguing that none of the Ames money or property should be spent because if Ames is convicted, Uncle Sam will be entitled to more than seems to be left of it. The judge said that line of reasoning outweighs any inconvenience to the Ames family by continuing to have the assets frozen.
The decision means that Ames and his wife Rosario will not be able to use the money. An order freezing the Ames assets was to have expired today. The mayor of Talladega, Alabama, has been kicked out of office, convicted of fraud, cashing $5,000 worth of city checks made out to a bogus tree surgeon. Three-term mayor Larry Barton will be sentenced next month. Wall Street, Dow Jones Industrials are now down 22.79 at 3830.05. Volume 174,160,000 shares. The trading is heavy. This is ABC News.
There's a reason Sears is America's #1 store for shocks. Nobody can match Sears' selection, and nobody can beat Sears' prices, especially on Road Handler Performance gas shocks. Now through March 15th, Sears' best shock is on sale for cars, light trucks, and vans as low as $15.99. See store for details. Backed by Sears Coast to Coast, your complete satisfaction is guaranteed. One more way at Sears Tire and Auto Center, we're driven to satisfy.
For the ABC Information Network, I'm Gary Nunn.
It's time for the excitement and thrills of the ACC tournament. WGBR will bring you every heart-pounding minute. We kick it off tonight as NC State takes on Clemson beginning at 6:50 p.m. The ACC tournament is brought to you in part by State Office Equipment Company, Goldsboro Builder Supply, Dream Makers, Schaefer Battery and Parts, Colonial Lighting, and Personalized T-Shirt. The ACC tournament starts tonight at 6:50, right here on Goldsboro's very own 1150 WGBR.
Temperatures have been ranging pretty wildly across the region today, from around 40 or so in the northern counties earlier today to 70s southward. We're all going to wind up in the 50s when the day's over in all likelihood. Those of you that are warmer will cool down. Those of you that are colder will warm up to the 50s, and the chance of rain will finally come to an end. Tonight, clearing skies, lows in the mid-30s, sunshine tomorrow with highs in the low to mid-50s. I'm Bill Schmidt at the Weather Center.
Expressed by the host on this show are rooted in the relentless pursuit of the truth. I am Rush Limbaugh. This is the Excellence in Broadcasting Network, the hottest, most listened to radio program in the country. And around the world on the EIB World Service at 15.420 megahertz shortwave, the Armed Forces Radio Network, and 636 commercial radio stations in the United States and Guam. Let's face it, folks, Rush Mania sweeps the globe.
This is a special edition of the Rush Limbaugh program, America Held Hostage. And now, from our studios in New York City, here is Rush Limbaugh.
We're counting the days of the raw deal, the Clinton administration that we have humorously dubbed here a hostage crisis. Day 415 today of the hostage crisis for the poor and the middle class. Day 434 for the rich and the dead. With 1,047 days of non-denial denials left to endure, the phone number here is 1-800-282-2882. Man, I got to tell you something, folks. Fax wires around the United States investment houses today have got to be burning, because there's this rumor circulating that a Washington consulting firm is going to announce this afternoon that Vince Foster's suicide was not a suicide. And it's clearly stated in the facts that I have that there's a rumor in the market that this Washington consulting firm is going to release this report this afternoon. But with this, you know, and that's exactly the kind of thing now that you can expect with this story unfolding as rapidly as it is, with so many new unanswered questions every day. You've got to expect just a flood of rumors to hit. And boy, this is the biggest one that I've seen yet. And when it's on, you know, Treasury wires, when it's on the fax lines from investment houses back and forth, even the markets are very sensitive to this kind of information, and so they try to prepare themselves in the event something is true, because all these kinds of bits of information, rumors and so forth, if they do prove out, then eventually that it has some kind of an effect on the market. So I just wanted to clue you in that this is one of the rumors that is floating around, and it's I mean, if I've gotten this, I'm sure I'm the last in the loop compared to all of the people at investment houses around the country who've gotten this. And so I don't know if you'll hear any more about it. I don't know how public this will get, this little rumor here, but you got to expect this kind of stuff. Let's look at some of the other things in the news here before we get back to phone calls. And those of you who've been on hold for a while, be patient, because I do intend to get to all of you. I want to talk a little bit more about the economy, because this is another thing that I have been rather single-minded on, and not single-minded, I've been kind of a lone voice on the economy and the interpretation of economic numbers. Remember yesterday I said to you that with all of this so-called robust growth in the economy, that there just didn't seem to be any characteristics in human behavior that would seem to indicate that the people think that there's a robust economy going on. If you remember what life was like in the 80s during that genuine robust economic recovery, there were outward signs every day that it was a full-fledged recovery. I mean, real substantive jobs were being created. Entrepreneurs were budding all over the place, popping up everywhere. And that's the kind of thing that's not happening here. What's happening here is that productivity is going up, but nobody's getting any raises. And as I pointed out to you yesterday, there are going to be people that will try to tell you that the reason with productivity going up and a booming economy going on that nobody's getting raises is because CEOs and managers at corporations and companies are very mean and cruel, and they simply do not wish their workers to do well. In fact, that spin's already begun. And I would suggest to you that it's not anything to do with the cruelty, the meanness, the evil of the CEOs and company managers, but rather it's the unknown of the future. How much is it going to cost to do business? How much is it going to cost to hire somebody? You couple that. You know, we are in the process with this administration of enacting policies which will discourage hiring. When you were to put an 80% mandate on employers to pay for the health care of their employees, and then you've got new corporate taxes coming down the road in the form of the higher income taxes on individuals in high brackets, those people who file as sub-S corporations. Sub-S corporations are actually files individuals. You have a number of brakes that are ready to be applied to whatever economic recovery is going on. Plus, there's no signs of any inflation out there. And all of these things contribute to what I would suggest is a lack of real confidence out there that there is a burgeoning economy. And finally, USA Today, after trying to hide the fact, gets to the nub of it with a story today: layoffs belie stronger economy. The layoff steamroller keeps chugging despite an improving economy. Here are the cutbacks which were announced yesterday. Raytheon, the Patriot missile maker in Lexington, Massachusetts, will reduce its workforce by 7%, or 4,000, over the next 2 years. Fleet Financial, the nation's 15th largest bank, plans to cut 5,000 jobs, 19% of its workers. They're located in Providence, Rhode Island. They cut 2,000 jobs last July, so that'll move up to 7,000 total. Burger King, headquartered in Miami. They're going to eliminate 50% of its corporate staff positions next month. That's 600 jobs. The economy has improved, but employers are still hesitant to hire, says James Challenger of Challenger, Gray, and Christmas consulting firm in Chicago. They say there that one problem is that companies know they'll be rewarded by Wall Street if they continue to announce plans to eliminate job slots. Well, they're also getting the same amount of work done with fewer workers, and that's the name of the game, efficiency, costs as low as possible, and still maintaining quality and profit are exactly what the proper business orientations are. So, once again, all this stuff is going to make me a negative harbinger here, and I'm not trying to be that. And but again, as I've stressed, you got to approach this stuff with honesty. And again, the reason that I am insistent on trying to come up with this kind of information. Look, I'm not making it up. All this stuff is out there. This stuff is actually happening. And I think that it needs to be stated because whatever economic activity there is that would be deemed or said to be positive is being expanded and amplified by a number of factors times 2 or 3 by the administration to suggest that their plan is working. And in fact, it's just the opposite. Their plan is what is contributing to these layoffs. Their plan is what's contributing to whatever brakes there are being applied to an economy which may, in fact, be growing. The Raytheon cuts, 4,400 jobs there. I mean, that's simply a result of the Defense Department being cut back. And here is the way to look at that. I mean, you can say, well, yeah, we've got to cut defense because the world's a safer place and so forth, but still, the decision has been made that instead of spending money on the Department of Defense, we're just going to take that money and give it away to others, is what this administration plans. Coupled with all this is the story that I had yesterday for you, that Clinton wants to reform and totally reorganize the unemployment system. And basically, he wants unemployment centers where the unemployed will go and they will take tests. They will fill out all of their unemployment application forms, and they will ostensibly go to retraining and counseling sessions there so as to be better equipped to find jobs. Now, that ought to send a shudder up and down your spine. I don't know about you, but when I lose a job, the last place I intend to go is some Bill Clinton opened center to tell me how to get a job. Where you go to get a job is to a place that hires people. I mean, it's not really that tough. You want a job, you go out and find somebody that needs something done and apply for it. But to send everybody to these unemployment centers, see, this is part of a vicious cycle, too. I don't care how much this offends some of you. The simple fact of the matter is that being unemployed in America is not that painful. With unemployment compensation, extensions, and everything else, and all the availability that you have in this country to assistance when you're unemployed, it makes unemployment a little easy. And I'm not suggesting that it's a replacement for work, but in some cases it is for certain kinds of work. And so you got two things going on at the same time. We're discouraging hiring by virtue of the economic policies and future desires of this administration, coupled with the fact that we're paying people more to be unemployed longer. And we are about to come up with a health care plan that's going to get you health care whether you're employed or not. So the incentives to find work are less than they otherwise would be. Don't misunderstand me now. I'm not sitting here saying that you can live comfortably on an unemployment check. I know you can't. I've been on that. I took for 2 months back in the 70s. I'm not at all unaware of how little money it is. But especially for people who are being laid off, they're in the peak earning years between 45 and 55, and they're basically white collar. That's who's losing jobs here, folks. I mean, when you have Fleet Financial cutting back and you have corporate staff positions at Burger King being let go and such things, IBM letting people go. I mean, you're talking about white-collar, middle management people. I'm not suggesting that they can live comfortably on unemployment, but those are also not the kind of people who are going to show up at a Bill Clinton unemployment center to undergo retraining, counseling, and to fill out a bunch of forms. This is just a ruse to get everybody turning even more to the government for their sustenance, be it a job or anything else. Got a quick break here. We'll be back with more of your calls right after this. Don't go away.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Oh, goody. Get to tell you about Florida citrus again. Do you know there have been over 500 studies, including 100 studies alone about vitamin C, that point to the helpfulness of citrus? The vitamins and minerals found in Florida orange juice can play an important role in maintaining good health, but you probably think you know that. Researchers at the National Cancer Institute have long maintained that a diet rich in vitamin C can help prevent certain cancers. I bet you may not have known that. Other studies specifically talk to vitamin C's health benefits regarding heart disease and other serious ailments right down to the common cold, and you've probably heard about that. Now, my good friends at the Florida Department of Citrus tell me that our bodies absorb 35% more vitamin C from citrus fruits than from supplements. I'll bet you didn't know that. Now, here's what I'm getting at. 1 6-ounce glass of Florida orange juice is usually enough to satisfy the U.S. recommended daily allowance of vitamin C. But you know how we at the EIB Network, including all of you people, feel about the government's RDA. You need much more. Florida orange juice. You can't beat it.
Do you know there are only 44 sounds in the English language? 44. And when you learn these 44 sounds called phonics, you can read and spell almost everything. That's why Hooked on Phonics is so successful. We've set these 44 sounds to music, making learning to read simple and fun. So get hooked on phonics and take the mystery out of learning to read. Call 1-800-ABCDEFG.
Great moments in copier history. In the beginning, good things came in pairs.
Noah, build an ark.
Okay. And so Noah built an ark and filled it with animals, 2 of every kind.
2 aardvarks, 2 ants, 2 anteaters.
Hey, Noah, do we have to bring those guys?
Don't worry, Mr. Ant. All will be well.
And so the time of the great flood drew near.
2 weasels, 2 wombats.
It rained for 40 days and 40 nights, and all those aboard the ark were safe and dry.
Noah, where'd all these rabbits come from? I thought we only brought 2.
Yes, dear, but they've been busy making copies.
Speaking of copies, right now is a great moment in copier history. Today you can buy a qualifying copier or fax from McRae Graphics and get a Toshiba portable phone absolutely free. For your Toshiba copier or fax needs, call McRae Graphics at 1-800-768-4349. With offices in Asheville, Charlotte, Greensboro, and Raleigh, they cover North Carolina from the mountains to the coast. McRae Graphics, dependable people, dependable copiers.
By now, you've received your 1993 federal tax instruction booklet in the mail, and I know what you're thinking. Great. What am I going to do with that? So, what are you going to do with it? Use it to start your grill or line your bird cage? Oh, how about wrap a birthday present for your Uncle Frank, the CPA? Or here's a novel idea that could end up putting money in your pocket. Read it. Yeah. Seriously? For instance, okay, did you know that if you paid care expenses for a dependent so that you could work, you may be able to take the dependent care credit, getting a tax credit of up to 30% of your expenses for the year? You didn't know that? Nah, neither did I, until I read my tax booklet. It's in there along with lots more information to help you file your return.
The Internal Revenue Service answers assistance at your service.
Even if you're having someone else prepare your return, you'll probably find this year's tax booklet enlightening reading. You could learn a thing or two. Hey, I did.
WGBR.
Hi, welcome back. Rush Limbaugh, the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. All right, now here it is done as rumor, and as usual, it's fairly close to what was originally stated. There is a Washington D.C. consulting firm called Smick Johnson or Johnson Smick, and they've got a newsletter. It's out. It's been published in their report today that there was an apartment that Vince Foster and a number of the people who moved to Washington from Arkansas had rented. And that they were, in fact, looking for another apartment because this one was not upscale enough for them, but that's incidental to the story. But that they are, in fact, Vince Foster, the Smick Johnson report states, according to someone I just got off the phone with, this Johnson Schmick International, okay, that's the name of the company, Johnson Schmick International of Washington, is saying that Foster committed suicide in this apartment and was then moved to the park. So that's what's in the Johnson Schmick International newsletter this afternoon. That's what's been flying around all over these Treasury wires this afternoon, all morning today, and it's going to be published in a number of different places today, this report, because whoever subscribes to it can then use the information. We don't subscribe, but it's nevertheless out there. We've called, and they're acting like they don't know what we're talking about down there, but fact of the matter is that I just talked to somebody who's got the Johnson Schmick International report in front of them, and the rumor that Foster was murdered in this apartment is not part of the report. The report says that he committed suicide in this apartment, and that it was owned by a bunch of people, rented by a bunch of people from Arkansas who had moved to Washington, and then the body was moved to Fort Marcy Park. And then I just got off the phone with somebody who says that that's not really true, that sources indicate that Vince Foster was never at that apartment that day. So it just continues to pile on top of itself here, this whole, and I hate to keep saying various strains here, I hate to keep singing various verses if I told you so, but back when this all happened, my original reaction was that if you find out really what happened to Vince Foster, how and why and all that you'll find so many answers to all these other questions. And it appears that that is the direction many curiosity seekers are now looking into. Let's go back to the phones. Belmar, New Jersey, Marianne, welcome to the Rush Limbaugh program. Hello.
Hello, Rush. I can't believe I reached you. I've been walking around with a portable phone on my ear for 4 years calling you. And when I got through and I heard this man's voice, I didn't even know what to say. I'm just so privileged to talk to you.
Oh, no. I'm glad you called. Thank you very much.
I wanted to call you yesterday because you were talking about Hillary Clinton and why you criticize her. And I thoroughly supported what you were saying. I'm a strong woman from the 60s who was in the liberation movement and woke up in the 70s and said, my God, these people lied to me. And I turned completely around and say to myself, you can only do one job well. And that's where I feel women have been taken. And one of the things that Hillary Clinton symbolizes to me is a woman who is trying to take other women into this new role that, to me, she's just a true elitist in every way. Her remarks...
How long have you thought this?
Oh, a long time. Anybody who knows me, I run a convenience store here, and you're on every afternoon. You're an unofficial Rush Room. It should be official. And everyone who comes in here...
What kind of convenience store?
Well, can I tell you it's a 7-Eleven?
Sure, so I can come in here and get a Slurpee.
Oh, God, yeah, we give you one big one, really. we just love you here. And you have no idea the impact that you have on people. I know that sometimes you get removed there in your studio, but you just have to know how you really have caused people to come out and say what they want, to be proud to be conservatives, and to feel that, the elitists may feel that they have a mission, that they have the true religion, like you said.
Right.
But there is something about goodness and truth that it's like beauty. Everybody recognizes it. And when the truth is spoken, people respond to it, and you've really done that in this country. So I hope that that you always realize how much you've given.
Well, you are so sweet. You're very kind. You flatter me. I'm grateful for your sentiments and your call.
I just have to tell you something too.
Yeah.
When you speak about the economy in this country, I just want you to know that people I see come through my store, they're working so hard, and they are not getting anything. There is such a feeling of uncertainty that whatever they say about how numbers are growing in this country under the Clinton administration,
right,
it's hogwash. It's not true. People have
in certain parts of the country, I think it's true that some parts of the country are experiencing an economic rebound, and that's always the way it is. Northeast is lagging, always will, because what you have here are liberal federal policies that are working in concert with liberal policies that have been in place here in the Northeast locally and at the state level. That's why the election of Giuliani is so important as mayor of New York, and that's why the election of Christie Todd Whitman as governor of New Jersey is so important. Speaking of this, Marianne, thank you so much for your call. You made my day. You've moved me greatly. There's huge news out of Texas today in the defeat of Craig Washington. Craig Washington was a congressman, very liberal congressman from Houston, and he replaced Mickey Leland, who died while on a goodwill mission to Ethiopia in a plane crash. And that seat down there has always been held by the most extreme left-leaning member of the Democratic Party who ran in that district. And Craig Washington lost in a primary yesterday. And so now he was defeated by another Democrat. That doesn't mean the Republicans have won that seat yet. Don't misunderstand. But for Craig Washington to lose is that's got a little blurb in USA Today, but that's a big story, and it's the first, I think, of what you're going to see is a vast move to the right in congressional elections this November. Mark my words, I'm saying that here on the 10th of March, 1994. There are all kinds of signs out there that this movement to the right is ongoing, and it's not aided. I mean, the Democrats losing, the traditional Democrats losing in these primaries, is not being helped by what's happening now with the White Watergate scandal. We'll be back with more calls after this break.
If you are in business or have children in school, then this message is for you. This is Kevin Trudeau, founder of the American Memory Institute. Imagine you or your children with a virtual photographic memory and being able to remember names and faces, facts and information, telephone numbers, things to do, and more. Students get straight A's with less study time. Call 1-800-862-MEGA and see why over 2 million people have already benefited from the easy-to-learn Mega Memory Home Study course. That's 1-800-862-MEGA. 1-800-862-MEGA.
This is WGBR News, Goldsboro's very own.
This is Wayne Alley. Law enforcement officers and searchers went to the point at which suspect Michael Skells of Newport said missing Air Force retired Lieutenant Colonel Elbert R. Stokes picked him up and searched that area yesterday, but to no avail. A Craven County sheriff called off the intensive search in Havelock late in the day and said there will be random searches today. If they fail to find the missing Goldsboro man today, investigator Brad Hardison said they'll conduct a full-force search tomorrow using everyone who will volunteer to help.
We're still getting information from phone calls on seeing our suspect in the truck. We got one more call this evening that he was seen about 30 minutes prior to his attempted robbery in Mr. Stokes' truck. So that's, I think, 3 eyewitnesses that have put him in the truck alone. We've pretty well got our situation nailed down if we can just, find out the fate on Mr. Stokes.
Craven County Sheriff's investigator Brad Hardison. Colonel Stokes was reported missing after he failed to show up at the coast to repair a house. Suspect Michael Skells, a Newport man in his late 20s, is charged with attempted bank robbery. Police say the suspect was wearing Colonel Stokes' clothing when he was arrested and admitted to having the Stokes truck. The truck was found behind a pawn shop in James City. The attempted bank robbery took place about 200 yards from where the abandoned truck was found. Stray bullets in the vicinity of 902B Fairview Circle last night left 41-year-old Mrs. Annie Elizabeth Filial of Pittman Street hospitalized. An officer said she had exited the door of the residence of her daughter and was struck in both legs by bullets from a handgun. The door locked behind Mrs. Filial when it closed, and the officer said she could not re-enter. An investigator told WGBR News that charges will be filed today against the suspect who was visiting the area at the time and allegedly firing a gun. Emergency medical personnel said Mrs. Filial had 3 entry-exit wounds of the legs and ankles. The victim was found lying in a pool of blood outside the residence of her daughter, Toba Filial. Police chiefs across the state, including Chester Hill of Goldsboro, have endorsed the tougher sentencing provisions of Governor Hunt's crime-fighting package. Chief Hill said it's reached the point that some people are locked up inside their homes in fear. The chief declared it's the criminals who should be locked up, not law-abiding citizens. The police chiefs and other representatives of police departments joined Hunt at a news conference in Raleigh to speak in favor of the governor's crime package and in particular his bills to ensure that violent criminals get tougher punishment. I'm Wayne Alley.
Temperatures, which have been ranging from 40s in the northern counties today so far to 70s in the southern counties, are going to be gradually evening out and winding up in the 50s by the end of the day as the cold front goes through. Rain and thunderstorms have been heavy at times. They'll taper off as the afternoon progresses. Slower or later than expected, but at least it will be ending today. Clearing tonight, lows in the mid-30s. Sunshine tomorrow, highs in the low to mid-50s. I'm Bill Schmidt at the Weather Center.
WGBR.
Welcome back to the Rush Limbaugh program. Excellence in broadcasting defined. The cutting edge of societal evolution. The only information superhighway you'll ever need. It's called the Turnpike of Truth with no left turn. New York, and we can be reached if you dial 1-800-282-2882 to Anaheim, California with Roland. I'm glad you called.